Allow me to beg your indulgence for one moment. This is the artist formerly known as Damian Sandow, now known as Aaron Stevens, and you're listening to the Talk and Roll Express with Lewis, Thomas, Oliver, and Cameron, covering everything from murder mysteries to union stabs and always getting the job done straight from the enclosed pool area. You're welcome.
Right, guys. ICW Fight Club, 5th of October 2018. Initial impressions of this show.
I liked it. I think it's the fact we've watched so much from a bygone era in a different country, in a different world with different people, and the fact this is going on down the road from you, and these are people that exist in like a small radius of where you are. I enjoyed it for the fact it felt a lot more real for a lot of reasons. I think largely as well, one thing is the industrial language in the show. I think by and large, there's but in the preamble, it's like, oh, I fucking had it, and then guy screaming like fuck you and everything. I think there's actually more of a suspension of disbelief in this. That people are fighting. Of course, there's going to be like some strong language. Of course, you're going to be fucking screaming when you're beating this guy. But I think by and large, yeah, it's not a long show. But I think we're owed a break after so long.
It was a nice palate cleanser, as you're saying. Like, we're kind of watching even though we were kind of watching a lot of WCW recently, which was a big departure from watching all the kind of Attitude Era stuff, the Ruthless Aggression Era. This was still a nice kind of palate cleanser, as you say. It's local, it's familiar. There's something you can kind of relate to with it as well. And I mean, I've been to loads of ICW shows. Obviously, I've not been to one in a while. No surprise there. But I kind of missed a lot of 2018. I kind of fell away from it in the second half of that year. So I've not seen this show before. And I kind of missed the whole this Jackie Polo gimmick, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, in DCT being champion and things like that. But yeah, the show, it was entertaining.
It's probably good at this point to just mention, although it'll be clear enough, I'm sure, that there's a tremendous amount of bias from my part because I chose this episode and to watch this. I love it. I love ICW. I mean, not everything, but then that's almost half of the reason as to why I have such a big admiration for it, is because it feels more of a conversation as opposed to like just like a blind admiration for what they do. But this is what was on the network. For a few reasons, it's maybe not the best example of everything that ICW does. But at the end of the day, this is their Monday Night Raw, which explains the sort of short format for the show. I would much prefer to watch this over any Monday Night Raw that's getting produced nowadays. It's tight. They've got loads of different stories going on, and there's loads to explore, some good action and stuff. I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and just talk about the stories. I've got a bit of detail, obviously, with the matches, but as you say, the stories were tight. There was stakes to the feuds.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's kind of difficult because you are literally like, it's crazy because, like, again, you could turn on Raw right now and there's stakes is a really good point. There's no build because there's no outcome to anything. We could watch it now and it would just be a shiny wrestling show, and we could subject it off that one show and then never have to look at it again. We feel like we're walking in on a story here that has been going on for a long time and is probably going to progress on to something else that's really interesting. It's what a wrestling show should be. They're building up to blowouts and matches and pay-per-views, and there's a lot of moving parts for I think it's maybe an hour, and it's around about the hour and a half area somewhere, and there's so much going on in just that wee tight compact package. I mean, when you consider that these are local guys who didn't come up through the territories in America and had to basically learn everything secondhand through consuming media through the 2000s and the WWE and stuff like that, it's crazy how they've got their finger on the pulse of what an audience want so much more than the professionals themselves. Bias.
No, really? No. What I was going to say, minimalism is a word that kept coming to mind when I was watching this, even just with regards to the entrance set and the rings and all that. It feels very, very scaled back. Obviously, our entire context or our entire frame of reference is stuff from the States. So, you know, we get used to the kind of the flashy, the overdressed LED rig kind of setup and all that. But watching this, it's lean. Like I said, there's a lot of backstage stuff. Nothing feels wasted. I mean, Christ, even the interview gets our own segment at the end. But you know, yeah, it's and again, like a lot of the modern talent, you know, if you've seen that kind of look, it's you know, they're 180 pounds and they've got the 8-pack and the Peaky Blinders haircut and all that. And you know, once you've seen enough of that, it can go. But still, whereas we hear, you know, these are chunky lads. You know, there's some proper guys with hair on their chest here. So yeah, I'm just going to sit back on it because me and Cammy are on the same page for once. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy it.
This is going to be a pat on the back episode, much like when we watched the WCW from 1986, I think. But it's a bit, I don't know. I've got a bit of a bigger smile on my face. I'm sure it's a nice little moment to be Scottish. I think it's fantastic. It's interesting, crazy times.
It is. I mean, you get a kind of national pride for the fact that arguably, or maybe not arguably, the biggest and best promotion in the UK is local, and it's really local to me. I mean, it's like 3-4 miles down the road. You know, it's it does feel nice to party. I mean, like I remember being on Twitter and stuff like that, and talking to guys in America during the WWE UK tournament, and saying to guys, "Oh, there's guys like Wolfgang and stuff," and keep an eye for them. The guys like, where did I watch this kind of stuff though? And then like WWE UK NXT comes out, and like seeing guys like this, pure like gushing over them, and I'm like, I see these guys live on a regular. Used to see these guys live on a regular basis. You kind of take it for granted a wee bit.
I mean, like, yeah, it's important to mention, and I'll reference it later on that there was always rumblings that ICW, kind of in the same vein of ECW, were working silently with the WWE for years. Now that they've posted these specific events, and you can see, like in kayfabe storyline, Grado has to give up his really famous intro music because it's copywritten, and then at the time we thought, oh, that's because Grado's on to bigger, better things with TNA. When the reality was, it's because ICW was being recorded and being pumped into the WWE library, and they could no longer put up with the copyright. All these things working in the background, Triple H showing up on eventually and stuff like that, kind of made it a little bit less, you know, covert. But we'll reference it. It's scary. All this was built off of the players that are there: Jackie Polo, Lionheart, Shah Samuels, Jack Jester, Mikey Whiplash, Kid Fight. If it wasn't for these people, regardless of whatever situation is going on with some of them now, you wouldn't have WWE NXT UK. We wouldn't have such a strong independent wrestling scene in Britain. It really does come off the backs of the people that we're watching here. Lewis, what was the first segment?
The first segment was the Fight Network versus the Purge.
The Purge are over as hell. I can remember the first time I seen Crowbar with his big beer belly, and you know, it's kind of like what we were talking about before. Every single one of these guys just kind of look like they could. You wouldn't want to meet them in the dark alley sort of thing. They might not have 8-packs, but they look tough as nails. The Fight Network, looking fat, and Krieger, they kind of got over just by looking like normal guys. Looking Sharp's a short guy. Krieger's quite an awkward looking gangly fella. It's almost like the audience in the crowd can sort of put themselves on these guys and think, that could be me. That could be me. And that's one of the reasons why they're so over when you see them in this segment. I don't know what you guys thought about it.
I
Looking Sharp's got, so I was going to say, Looking Sharp's got tremendous pattern as well.
Yeah, aye. Brand new.
I like how he looked to the camera as well. I like how there's a real suspension of disbelief, but also the fact that the fourth wall just completely broke. You looked at the camera and you winked at me. I was like, "Oh, it's me! Yeah, I'm watching it." And yeah, I think again it's enjoyable for the sole reason that everyone you see here tonight is a bloke.
Mm.
It's not these crafted. Again, it's some of the promos. I wasn't into them, but for that reason alone, it was very conversational. You can tell it's not being overproduced to hell, not having lines fed to them. They're like thinking on the fly, and not everything's going to be a Dusty Rhodes Hard Times promo. But there's a real believable element to it. There's a real like, well, yeah, cool, yeah, maybe DCT is a bit, he's a bit off his game because he's battling his friend tonight. He's not going to be, like the most electrifying man in Glasgow,
Yeah,
at the moment. And I think throughout the whole of this, again, yeah, there was a real believability to it. We know kayfabe is yesterday's man. It's a concept from the 90s. But again, it's watching something, a piece of television, a piece of art that's been produced, and be like, do I believe this? Do I buy into this? And this is every step of the way. And I'm bastard. I'm going to attribute it to Jonathan Ross because I think that's who I read it from. But it's something like the peak of wrestling was back in the 70s when it was bin men in tights fighting each other. And this is what it is. It's bin men in tights fighting each other, and it's fucking brilliant. Mm-hmm. And yeah, again, I'm not as au fait with the ICW product as the locals in this conversation are. But yeah, if this is their Monday Night Raw, I would happily. I would happily do this. Like, it's not a concept I'm going to pursue, but I'm going to happily sit and watch more of this because I'm into it. I'm with it. I'm buying into these stories and these personalities, and I'm with it.
I mean, if anything, Looking Sharp is a perfect example of a guy who physically is in no way the template. You wouldn't see him on a WWE poster or any American poster for an example of a wrestler, but you can very much tell from the way he carries himself in this that he's just got it. And it would be a shame if he didn't have a platform, which is why companies like this are so important, in my opinion. I feel the exact same about Jackie Polo to death. I feel like Jackie Polo isn't, the obvious. Sorry, I've just lost it there. Tam's screen just paused at the worst moment. Sorry, Chief. I've lost my train of thought. You guys got to go. That was quite funny. It's hard to wax poetically when he looks like he's gurning off his face. But yeah, no. Look, as a match, had some kind of high spots. It was really fast paced, but at the same time didn't feel rushed. I thought it was a good match. Yeah,
good opener.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
My other overriding thought during the whole of this as well is, as much as the present and future we find ourselves in these days is absolutely terrible, I think it's great that a promotion like ICW can thrive to the level it does, because we can watch it on demand. There is video on demand. You can watch it from anywhere in the world, and obviously they've been carrying on through this whole pandemic without fans, but still been able to tape shows and put them out. And it's one of those, you dread to think how many companies would have gone under even a decade ago.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you're American, you're sitting like flicking through Peacock or Network, whatever it's called over there, and you're like, I quite like some of these guys. I want to see what they're like in Evolve. I want to see what they're like these other kind of indie wrestlings. Oh, there's ICW. I'll see what this is. And then you hear Billy Kurtwood's commentary for the first time. You're some like random American living in like fucking Arkansas or something. And you're just like
watching Shug's Hoose Party. Aye. That's one of the best pay-per-view names ever.
Aye. I know we're going to get commentary,
I know we're going to get on to him, but I'm sorry.
Just some fucker out in Nevada decides to browse to the network and they click on this, and the first thing they hear is Jennifer Louise. Oh my fucking god! It just sends like shockwaves down your spine, wouldn't it?
It's been explored before, but I mean, and we're going to reference it later. But I'm such a big fan of Jackie Polo Justice with the fake American accent. I sent you guys a promo where he's talking about Scottish concepts, but with a fake American accent. what was it? I'm not familiar with football. Is it the double treble or something like that? He's a big Celtic fan, and then he's the O2 Academy refers to the O2 Academy Sportatorium and stuff. And it all leads up to a fantastic. In fact, I think it wasn't. I'm mistaken actually. I think Grado returned before, and Jeff Jarrett shown up at Shug's Húsparty, the way they were saying it, and had a promo off with Just Justice with his fake American accent. You just can't, get on the par with these guys with how creative that is.
And that's the thing. We'll definitely go back to the show, but just kind of like again, just fucking blow the smoke up ICW's arse here. They're not just it's not just a kind of case of getting has-beens, in the offence to kind of your legends, but they're not getting has-beens kind of washed up, getting the money for a show to kind of relive their glory days type thing. They're getting guys that are still very, very popular to ply their trade. I mean, Jeff Jarrett wasn't coming out and doing a match in his 60s type thing. He came out to do a quite good angle at Shug's House Party. Sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Diverging? No, that's the word. I can't fucking think.
Altercation?
I have no idea.
Nah.
Who the fuck knows? Anyway, there is actually a really, really good documentary about ICW's kind of. Is it 2014? There's a great documentary on that where they're talking about getting Colt Cabana and have a match with Grado on that. I'll link that in the description below because it's absolutely fantastic.
Is that like Glasgow's Fight Club or something?
It's Insane Fight Club or something. It's named pretty similar to this show. What's the next segment?
The next segment was, we've got like, I was just going to skip the backstage segments because,
I think so because...
Oh, man.
No, I want to talk about
It's literally half the show.
It was like
I want to talk about that magic trick.
I forgot about that.
That again, you can make me watch a year's worth of Raws, even from the golden era of 2002 to 6. When will you ever see someone pull off a magic trick like that? That was fucking brilliant.
This is when our world comes crashing down, Thomas. That we have to try and defend someone. Bamboozling Kevin Kelly. Is it Kevin Kelly? Aye.
Kieran Kelly.
Yeah,
Kieran Kelly. Yeah.
It was. I'm a complete mark for a good card trick, and this was a good card trick. I probably can't offer as much insight into ICW, its storylines, and its big hitters than these guys who understand the product and know the product. But I can give you insight into a good magic trick, and I personally feel that is a card trick I'd like to pull out myself.
You made that sound very sinister.
Right up front, nothing has done more damage to the televised wrestling industry than the advent of the HD camera.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
It doesn't look right in 1080p. Just downscale. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I thought it was. I'm just gonna go off on one. I thought the DCT promo was actually quite good. It's much more difficult to cut a quiet reserve promo like that. He touched on all the points, especially for you guys, because I was aware that some of you guys wouldn't realise that what we're seeing is like the implosion of Polo Promotions, which was arguably the greatest tag team stable in British wrestling in the past couple of decades. And I feel like he touched on those points, and with the promos in that night, I feel like whoever orchestrated ICW be on the network, there's only a few random Fight Club episodes on there, but I feel like they're quite good as standalone shows because the promos do their job and actually set the tone and the story. You've got Ollie there basically talking about how DCT's going to fight Jackie Polo, his friend and former protege. Well, you've never seen a show yet. You managed to get that across. I don't see that happening in a lot in modern wrestling, to be honest with you. Just a lot of twiddling thumbs.
The one thing about the world wrestling that they do well, to be fair, is you could not watch either Raws or SmackDowns and you could still know what's happening for the video package alone. The video packages are still really well done. But you're right, the promos aren't as succinct.
I feel like promos are a lost art nowadays because of the video packages.
And they're
Like,
too scripted, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's all I say, they're too overproduced.
Mhm.
You know, it's
And
like...
That's something that you can definitely say for AEW. Like, you know, I from what content I have seen of it, their promos are much more interesting to watch than anything that the Fed put out nowadays. But I think you know, sorry.
So the promos at WrestleMania, when they had to kill time because it was raining, they were good because they were off the cuff. They were not scripted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now they're erased from history.
Yeah.
Do you think, I'm going to go off a tangent here. Do you think the Scott Steiner, like 63.3% chance of winning promo was scripted, or do you think that was all off the cuff?
Off the cuff.
I mean, I would have to double check his mental arithmetic to be sure.
I think it does actually add up.
The arithmetic is sound.
Did it add up? Like, because if it did, and if it was off the cuff, then really, like, you know, it kind of bumps it up a place in the greatest promo of all time.
We got my mate a cameo for his birthday last year.
Educated university.
A Michigan State.
we got my mate a cameo last year for Scott Steiner and got him to do that promo.
Oh,
like a version kind of working into my mate's birthday, but he did it.
That's brilliant.
Do you think Buff Bagwell's going to be accepting cameo requests anytime soon?
I think Buff Bagwell will need to be accepting cameo requests.
Buff Bagwell is currently very busy.
See if we can get an interview with Buff Bagwell.
This is a wrestling show in Scotland in 2018 where Buff Bagwell lives inside my head rent-free.
And truly, I mean, that's the mark of a great wrestler. You know, a great promo, a great superstar.
Do you know what's a shame? And we'll never ever see it. We'll never ever see New Jack in ICW.
Yeah, that was. I think Grado said on his podcast with Rab Florence this week that was one of the main things that Mark Dallas used to talk about back in day when he talked about starting ICW. It was just like you know, kids talking about ECW but in Glasgow, and thankfully for me, because I'm just not down with the kids as far as ECW is concerned. It has went on to become something of its own, albeit some of the death matches that have happened in the past, crazy stuff. I mean, sitting in the garage and then like a death match is happening with glass flying everywhere, but you're only 6 feet away from the action. Very, very, very different tones compared to what's getting put out elsewhere. But yeah, what a week, man, of wrestling. New Jack, our man Buff.
Fortunately, Buff Bagwell is still with us.
Yeah, I was going to say, disclaimer, Buff Bagwell is still alive and well.
Unbeknownst to Cameron.
I was about to say, we were in too much legal trouble with the Bagwells at the moment.
Buff Bagwell was alive as of recording. Where was Marty Jannetty?
Oh, God. Yeah. Pulling us back into the present day. Well, we are in the present day. Pulling us away from Buff Bagwell yet again.
Towards him.
I do get an ECW vibe from ICW, but more in how it's presented.
Yeah.
It feels like going back watching Hostile City Showdown, or what was that other episode of ECW we watched? It's very close quarters. It's very narrow, but it's been filmed on someone's camcorder. As much as we decry the HD camera, because I think the HD camera and the HD recording, the only way I can describe it is that it looks like you're watching the lights come on in a nightclub for an hour and a half.
Oh, you kind of are. It's a literal nightclub.
But you know, the brightness of it feels wrong. The lights have come on in a nightclub. I get the ECW vibes from it, to be fair.
One caveat I would have for the whole episode is that, especially, I've just went down a rabbit hole of watching old clips and stuff, is the crowd are very much not in their signature heatness. Like, they're not very hot when you're watching this, which is a shame because it's a very historic kind of episode. Caveat of that would be if you do attend shows, they record them in a row, so you would watch 1.5 hours of wrestling and then another hour and a half of wrestling. And what they're actually doing is filming taping 2 episodes of their Monday Night Raw, basically. But what you're seeing is the unfortunate thing of doing that, which is crowd fatigue. By the time,
what the Feds used to do in the early 90s? Like they would tape like 5 shows at a time and then just air them over the progressing week.
Yeah, WCW done it as well.
Yeah, I can remember when I first went to the show and I didn't understand what was going on, and then Simon Cassidy, the ring announcer, welcomed us to ICW Fight Club, and I was very confused. I was like, huh? Like I was expecting that I should have been ushered out during the intermission, and my ticket was no longer valid or something. I was very confused.
See, I love it when you get an angle. The guy's like, "Listen, next week we're going to have that match," and I'm like, "Excellent! I'm going to see that tonight."
Aye, yeah. The problem is eventually, like, because you can see they advertise ICW on demand, and it's like $3.99 or something. It would mean that if you continuously go to their shows, you're at least like 6 weeks ahead of what gets aired on the internet. So, like, you know, it's a very, very weird system, especially given the fact that they still somehow manage to sell pay-per-views around it.
No worries.
Can you imagine if the tape... hang on, me buzz is just gone. Give me a sec. Carry on. Talk.
Absolutely, man. Right, so while he's away, shall we just get into Mark Coffey versus Neko for the 0G title?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I just want to put this disclaimer, but it's nice that the belts look like belts.
Yeah, that wasn't a very new introduction though by 2018 standards. I'm pretty sure you're only a year or two removed from the belts looking like belts. That was that WWE money, I think, something to do with that. But yeah, they look brilliant. I think the 0G Championship still looks the exact same way. No, I think it's a wee bit more gold, but then they've changed the World Heavyweight Championship in tribute to the Lionheart who passed, sadly. Yeah, just so that they can sort of put a bookend to that era and then the new one. But yeah, they look fantastic. One of the prettier belts. It's just a shame their logo kind of still looks a little, you know,
plain.
I don't use the word juvenile, but it's a bit cartoonish looking, and it's on this really beautiful gold belt. But other than that, it's, you know, the presentation is fantastic.
I think, to be honest, if you're going to look at it from a 360 view, if you're going to do a big gold belt, make yourself like a retro-looking logo, even just as an alternate logo, just so it fits the belt. Because it's one of those. I get it. You know full well my opinions on a big gold belt. It's the creme de la creme. It's the king of kings. But if you just slap your logo on it, it looks like you buy it off Wish.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a little bit more credit than that, but it's the only thing really holding it back. It's a bra belt, though. Bra belt.
It's a good title as well, in terms of like the kind of matches you get from it, the kind of people that hold it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Mark Coffey fan. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I like Neko as well, so I was really looking forward to this match. And just going back to your saying, Cam, like the crowd wasn't as hot as it could be, and I think that harmed it a wee bit. I thought the match itself and the kind of aftermath and that was all great.
I did start the match by feeling that they weren't doing enough though to engage the crowd. You know, like they were kind of wrestling. Like I feel like it's their job to recognise that the crowd is needing a little bit more to get them there, and you could see eventually that Echo started kind of, you know, egging them on type thing, to sort of like build them up, which is fine. But you really need that kind of at the start of the match and the end, and there was nothing really at the start. There was just a lot of holds, and just zero communication. That was kind of, if there was a caveat to that performance for me personally, that would be it. But I think they're probably just used to a fight club in a garage being shooting fish in a barrel. Like, really, you always get witty patter and pops from the crowd. So they were uncharacteristically quiet that evening.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of the Aaron Echo.
I like that.
You know how many shows I've been to, and I've only just clocked on to that.
Oh, Cameron.
Yeah. Well, I didn't chant along. I'm not a big fan.
And am I misremembering this, or was there not a bit with the face? They yelled at somebody in the crowd to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, he's fantastic.
Was that DCT or was that both of them?
Probably both of them.
Oh, that's probably... Again, it's stuff like that. Instead of like some monster heel just like staring at you. No, turn around, I'm just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Obviously, yeah. The adrenaline's pumping. Someone's being a dick to you. Shut the fuck up, man.
We didn't even get to the spot in our fight never versus Purge where the guy pretends to wank on him after he's won.
Yeah, he teabagged a man for the pin.
Oh.
Look, let's not have clean pins and he's superstar. No, put your nuts on his face. You pinned him either way. It's, you know, you're on a fight.
That's an ongoing gimmick, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember Kid Fight actually literally teabagged?
He literally got his ball sack out and teabagged someone. He teabagged Wolfgang, and then folk used to throw teabags into the ring at him, so he had to start coming to the ring with a tennis racket to deflect them all.
What a country. What a country.
If you were to just like randomly talk, like this is the thing, we could just make a podcast out of reminiscing about random back and forth between the audience and ICW, because the thing about ICW is if you sit in that audience, and we mentioned about how people are saying shut the fuck up, is because people are trying so hard sometimes in that audience to be witty and clever that they just don't know when to stop. Yeah. And you can hear it in promos sometimes if you watch clips, like someone shouting in the middle of a promo, but the room's so small it's actually stopping you from hearing things. It's awkward, but I mean when it works it is absolutely gold.
I mean we're never ever going to reach the heights of the Super Dragon. You know, Botchamania, but I mean, that's what it is.
You'd be surprised, man. Just random daft stuff. I think I'm trying to remember the fellow. There was a really large English fellow that came up. He had that sort of Thatcher-esque. There's a lot of Thatcher-esque gimmicks in British wrestling at the moment. And he was getting just absolute go away heat, as in nobody was saying anything. You could hear a pin drop, much like it was in this, and then all of a sudden someone just started chanting Uncle Fester, and then the room started building up again until we all were just sort of patting each other on the back as opposed to appreciating what was going on in front of us.
To be fair, like we always think like a Brexit Tory gimmick. Oh yeah, that's excellent heat. Oh yeah, people hate. Look, we live in a country where the Tories have been in power since fucking 2010. Like you've got a question at some point. You know, it's like, is it as villainous?
I was about to say, yeah. Where's the heel heat coming from? How can you be worse than the fucking closing government?
It just doesn't work. We were talking about Andy Wilde, ICW wrestler, in the group chat because he recently just made his NXT debut. I think he used to be called That's so hilarious. He had a kind of a Tory gimmick when he started, but he was called Andrew Wilde. And even but then he spent all his time up here, and he quickly just realized like, oh, they're actually quite clever up here. They're going to need a little bit more seduction than just I'm an evil Tory, boo me. And don't get me wrong, we love to boo a Tory up here, but at the end of the day, like we watch a lot of wrestling, and there's only so much tread in those tires.
Should have been Prince Andrew Wilde. Anyway, right.
I think a good Regal style gimmick would go down. I think you need a good Regal style gimmick, and I'm going to say patent pending on rebooting the Regal style gimmick. That is reserved for me when I decide to become a wrestler.
When, not if.
Not if. When. I think it's one of those. Like, it's a bucket list thing now. I think I'd like to just wrestle a match, just to get some closure.
Have you seen the clip? It's William Regal's fighting Daniel Bryan, and he comes out, his entrance music, and halfway through, a real man's man music comes on.
Oh no, yeah. I would love that.
Yeah,
it was Daniel Bryan apparently. He went, and it was his idea, and like Regal just runs in the music, just changes. He goes, Daniel Bryan's just fucking killing himself in the ring.
That's brilliant. That is fantastic. I mean, William Regal, the original Tory gimmick, really, if you think about it. But no one played it well,
though.
Yeah, like, what's the point?
Very subtle.
Yeah, what's the point? You know what I mean? What is the point?
It wasn't on the nose.
No.
Well, technically, it was Lord Alfred Hayes, not the first.
Lord Alfred Hayes, a big Tory. He's like a lovely gentleman, but you're calling him a Tory scumbag.
Lord, come
Fuck
on.
him.
I just called him a Tory, not a scumbag. Allegedly a scumbag, but definitely a Tory.
Yeah, probably a scumbag as well. I thought, what was that I was going to say? Oh yeah, like it was quite funny. Like during our first, like all of our episodes we've done up until now, we've all addressed like how the wrestling business is horrendous and that because there's no union, and you're expected to die young and basically pull yourself to death. And all he's like, I'm going to fucking get into this. I mean, one match as enhancement talent couldn't hurt, But
I think it's one of those, and I think with all we've watched and all with hindsight, just avoid the Fed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to wrestle for the Fed. I want to wrestle for ICW. I could die happy after that.
Because the thing is, let's talk hypotheticals here.
Oh no.
If any of us wrestled for the Fed, so we'd have to move stateside. We'd have to move to like Florida or something. Florida? I don't know where I live in America. It's a big place. Like, why not? Why no one talks about like Wyoming? What's going on in Wyoming?
You have to live in Florida though. That's where development is. You have to live in Florida.
Oh right, okay. So right. Scratch that. You live in Florida, but you got to uproot everything. You got to uproot your fucking life to move to Florida to wrestle for a company that just does not give a shit about you. Or you could just stay in Glasgow, wrestle for like ICW, have someone put his bollocks in your face, and then it's just a whole storyline that you get teabags thrown at you. I mean, you might not make millions of dollars in t-shirt sales, but you're also not John Cena. You might as well stay at home, have a fucking fluorescent tube smashed over your back, and be able to walk home.
Why be disregarded by millions when you could be loved by thousands?
And
exactly.
have a death match in Glasgow. We have the NHS.
Exactly, you'll be fine.
Oh, could you imagine like the Nick Gage's hospital bills? That's horrendous.
It doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
No.
You think at the very least, like the Fed would have healthcare.
I'm not. I've just realised that, like, I totally disregarded that Dark Side of the Ring episode, right? I totally dinged it because it's just not my style, right? I totally patched it. But, right, I watched 5 seconds and I thought, this guy's a fucking idiot. But see, now that I've just remembered that he has to pay every medical bill thrown his way, I want to double down on that. That guy is an absolute idiot.
It's never registered with me. Like, I'm aware that healthcare in America is an absolute crapshoot and just bankrupting even for the richest of people. And there's a whole industry where you get like thumbtacks stuck up your ass. And I've never made the connection of they have to pay to do that. They're being paid to do that, and then they go and pay to recover from the effects of it.
Yeah, you're literally out of pocket at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, so how much did that chair shot of barbed wire to the face cost you?
I know.
Grand. How much did you pay for it? £500.
Getting a back body drop through the cell, and just you thought I'm going to die. Well, you better hope you die because it's going to cost you a lot of money otherwise.
I hope I die in infamy as opposed to paying this hospital bill.
I'm more than happy to discuss that Dark Side of the Ring episode if you guys are like that.
I never watched it.
Which one? There's been many.
There's the Nick Gage one, obviously, but it's just like it's like watching a car crash in slow motion because he comes on, he's completely dead-eyed. When we've discussed the business ad nauseum, it's all about you've only got finite amount of time in it. You have to make your money. You have to climb the ladder to the E, hopefully, and then you get out and make whatever money you've got. And he comes on, and his idea of a business venture is like the highest guy he ever worked with David Arquette. He's like, I'm going to stab this guy in the neck.
Yeah,
you fucking idiot.
I'm going to get over.
Yeah, I'm going to kill David Arquette.
To be fair, at some point that probably was a good idea, like a good route of getting over. But we after the documentary, we all love him. really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
David-
still
that
feel
David
like
Arquette
murder
documentary.
is a good way to get some good heel heat.
I
Well,
think it was the
yeah.
funniest segment in any episode, which is like a man who wears a mask 99% of the time decided to rob a bank completely open faced.
Although, I mean, you talk about like, murdering somebody, getting you some good heat. Didn't it only work for Mark Jannetty? Allegedly.
They did scour the rivers and couldn't find anything, so I'm led to believe it
And
wasn't a match.
I'm about to say, let's
not
talk
only-
provable murder.
Yeah, so not only is he a murderer, but he's a very good one at that.
I don't know why this is came like. Well, you brought it up, but I was on the mats the other day, and I was talking to my coach, and he
On
basically
the maps business lingo, you wouldn't get it.
No, like-
Get rid of my body.
actual homoerotic manly grappling, not fake sexy grappling. And my coach is a wrestling fan, and it was just his reaction to when he brought up Marty Jannetty, and I was ready to bring it up. I was like, and then he totally shut it down. He went, "It was a fucking work."
Oh, so you knew about
worked.
the murder thing.
No, but I was like, well, yeah, I know, but
Did I break it
Come
to
on.
him or what?
I've never seen someone just so ready to jump in the corner of Marty Jannetty in my life. Like,
I can't remember which side we're on. I'm about to say, do we believe he did it or do we not believe he did it? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Let's
I
talk about it.
believe-
Well, I
I-
can believe
I-
he believed he did it, when in reality
Yeah.
it was a drug-induced case.
Actually, yeah, I think that's the official position. We believe Marty Jannetty.
I mean, look, we've all
However, we don't believe he did it.
But waking up and being like, "Oh, fuck, did I kill a guy?" I mean, that takes the biscuit. It really does.
Oh, we've all had nights
So-
like that.
In conclusion, I think Mark Coffey and Aaron Echo wrestled a very good match.
Oh wow!
Yes.
It's Mark Coffey.
You weren't even here when we were talking about it.
I know what you're talking. I mean, there's 4 matches. And 2 of them had a belt in them.
This is the first one with the
To be
belt.
honest, I regret not answering the buzzer because to give some more flavour to tonight's episode of ICW, my girlfriend texted. She's left for work. She texted me, said, "Did anyone ring our buzzer?" I was like, "No." It's like she said, "Oh, there's a guy outside the building, trying to get in, but he didn't come
Smarty.
through the door." Smarty? It's Buff.
That's not Jimmy.
Buff is here. It was like, but it looked a bit sus. I was like, oh, okay. So the buzzer went again. I thought, look out the window, see if anybody's like there looking up to get in. I saw no one. I saw a bloke walk away, and he had fucking takeaway in his hand. So if I'd let him in, he would have given me takeaway.
Mm.
I didn't
Yeah,
order
but
it.
Phil,
but-
you,
But I was going to say, you know it's not Buff Bagwell because there'd be a smoking car hanging out of the first floor. Apartment.
This man was not wearing a top hat. Therefore, it is not Buff Bagwell.
and for all you know, there was like severed heads
be
and
like
organs
the Wizard
in
of
that
Oz.
bag.
Like, there's the shoes like coming out of the pile of bricks. It's just going to be the big top hat recoiling into the bricks.
Just Marty with a carry out.
Just a slightly crushed top hat. But yes, I enjoyed Mark Coffey against Aaron Echo.
Good match.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to Grado versus Joe Henry.
In fact,
always got love
I
for
like
Grado.
the handshake at the end. Sorry.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that was a real good swerve as well because I thought, oh, shake hands. He's dropped the belt down. Shake hands. It'll be a DDT onto the belt or something. No, it was not.
No.
As stupid as it sounds, I enjoyed that because it's just like you saw him drop the belt down. He's going to fuck him onto the belt, and he didn't. And he ended up coming to his rescue. I thought that was very good. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, Grado versus Joe Henry. Always got love for Grado. He's got to pour some love out for the big man. I mean, he's like, for a comedy kind of wrestler, he was like the name of ICW. I mean, he's pretty synonymous with it. So,
From a cold perspective, he was like instantly over with me. I know it's quite hard to describe, but there's like just that instant impression where you just know that some might not be the best wrestler you've ever seen, but you're gonna enjoy him.
I don't think I'll be an apologist here. I don't think that people actually even realize how good he is. It's subtle in his humor. Like he's so in control of everything that's going on inside the ring at all times. He's able to create space for the humor. My favourite Grado moment is every single time when he gets into the ring, throws the bum bag up in the air to do the rock sell, but then all of a sudden his posture breaks and he kind of suddenly realizes, how do I get down? And he has to ask the referee to come help him down, and then the crowd are like, oh, and then the ref helps him down from the top rope and everyone pops. Like just shit like that. The dusty elbow, all that stuff. I think he's fantastic, but you can see him at this moment in history struggling, because obviously I think the thing that got him over with normal people, not wrestling fans, it was the Madonna gimmick, and I think he put more credit into that than anyone else, kind of thing. It's probably a right moment of anxiety when someone says, this big part of your character, you can't use it anymore because we're signed to the WWE and blah 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 blah. He was in the news. I don't know if you remember, it was newsworthy at the time because they had a big campaign trying to coax Madonna into allowing them to use the copyright, sort of like social media politicking and stuff like that. And then in contrast, you've got Joe Henry with his freshest gimmick of the day as the chosen one, off the back of him actually getting to compete for the Commonwealth in Roman Greco wrestling. That's a fantastic gimmick, but he doesn't go all Kurt Angle with it because he knows he's not Kurt Angle. He just goes, I am the chosen one by Mark Dallas to be the next big thing, and he carries it off really well. Worked on his body a little bit, got a bit bigger. He's huge now. I don't know if you follow his social media. He's absolutely huge, 200 kilogram squat baby. But yeah, even in a moment like this with Grado, he's able to carry it off well, despite like when he comes out without the music and it's just some random music and stuff like that, and then the crowd then sing the song for him and stuff. I mean,
I was going to say, because of the Mandela effect, I just choose to remember him coming out to Like a Prayer anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that shows you how good he is. Like, he didn't have to, and then the crowd popped for him anyway, started singing the song on his behalf, and I think even to this day they would do that, to be honest with you.
It's probably one of the most over wrestling songs, entrances in songs since Enter Sandman.
Yeah,
Sandman,
I make that comparison all the time. Yeah,
I remember the first Fear and Loathing at the SEC, and after it you had like 5,000 people leaving the SEC singing Like a Prayer.
And all the taxi drivers looked confused, thinking that it was loads of burly men at a Madonna concert. Yeah, I was there. When he won that belt off of Drew McIntyre, Galloway, whatever you want to call him, it was clear where Galloway McIntyre was going. It was a passing of the torch to someone that basically built the company. I'm not kidding, man. Power of the Wrestling. I saw grown men jumping into each other's arms and crying. Like, that was insane. And, that is a feat much above a comedy wrestler in my eyes.
I watched the Grado Berg video on YouTube immediately after this, because I had to know just the compilation. Like, they start singing the song, of course, and they managed to fuse the Goldberg theme and Like a Prayer into one big beautiful overlay. It's just watch it. Honestly, I can't tell it enough.
Used to be part of my workout mix.
Yeah. It's a legitimately
in the gym,
song.
squatting.
I don't see any shame in praising Madonna. I mean, it's not like she's never going to use it again, so she might as well give it to Grado.
It's Madonna, though, isn't it?
Wait, can they not do what the ICW did and just use an instrumental cover?
I don't think that would have the same. I think that'd be cheap. I think it's all or nothing.
Definitely. Or is it the song's so over that you could use like a karaoke instrumental and just let everyone, fill in the gaps?
Yeah, you could, but it wouldn't be the same.
We'll just freeze.
I'm just pitching.
God, Cameron.
Yep, one choice, and that's to cryogenically freeze Grado for 100 years until the song comes into the public domain.
What a comeback that would be.
160 or whatever.
That's brilliant.
What
Well
a
done.
pop that's going to be when Grado kind of like turns up in Raw 100 years in the future.
Jasmine.
Grado Rama.
And they thought
to fight Henry Godwin.
and they thought Sting was a big reveal.
Oh man.
Oh, God.
But I mean, it was a good match.
Yeah,
Two steady hands. I think maybe the problem at this point was the size of the guys. Grado's quite a slow working guy, and so's Joe. Sorry.
The thing is as well, it's like, guys, I've all seen them cameo, but I do implore, I've sent some links. Some of Joe Hendry's comedy stuff is fucking amazing.
Unbelievable.
When I say Summit, I mean, it's like amazed it to be fair, but Summit is just absolute gold. He managed to get a chant started that haunted Lionheart for the rest of his career by one single wee line in a mock-up song he did called "Selfies with taking selfies with your dog," because Lionheart was always on Instagram taking pictures of him and his dog. The fans would always chant "Selfies with your dog, selfies with your dog," forever.
For the rest of his life, mate.
Fucking crazy.
Literally, yeah.
I think as well, something that translates well across the pond is the fact that we do have a rich history of football chants as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously over in the States all you get is, "This is all boring." No, we can marry the worlds of football chants to disco songs and wrestling.
I feel like NXT has been a good avenue for those to actually infect, because like it's like American NXT fans have started to think that that's what you do at a wrestling show by watching the UK program and stuff like that. But it's not. It's just been adopted by them. Same with like Conor McGregor in the UFC. They like now you hear football chants regularly in the UFC, but it really didn't start until McGregor started getting into the main events of pay-per-views. And his fandom sort of followed him. But Joe Hendry, his comedy stuff's fantastic. But what you're seeing here is like the sort of start of himself moving, like trying to be seen as a main event player. Ironically, that is kind of the gimmick. But he was more of the local hero, Joe Hendry, where he would compose a cover of a famous pop song as a diss track to his opponent, and would come out as an entrance to that. And they were so over that I'm pretty sure if you go onto ICW's YouTube page, they're their most viewed videos, the different entrances. It was somewhat his gimmick in Ring of Honor when he just got signed not long after. But now it looks like he's going for full blown monster heel, which he's really good at working, and it's a testament in this match too, I think.
Not me to take a dig at the guy or anything, but Cammy, you'll know more about this than I do. What accent is that? What accent is Joe Henry's? Because
Edinburgh.
Oh, that's fine.
Edinburgh is an ambiguous land for accents.
The strength of the Glaswegian accents, it sticks out like it stuck out to me. Anyway, I don't know how it felt with you guys, but
Edinburgh's an ambiguous land of different accents. There's gentrification everywhere, but at the same time, like a lot of poor people, all kind of mashed into one. Scotland's a colourful place, and Edinburgh's probably the most translucent. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still having a hard time nailing accents down, to be honest.
Yeah,
like back home, I can nail people to the postcode. up here, everyone's just Scottish.
It's a different accent per field up here, to be honest with you.
Right, so we're just getting to Jackie Polo, Justice versus DC.
Good, because I'm going to have a whole hour dedicated to how much of a mark I am for Jackie Polo. No, it's fine. You on, go.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great match in the ring. Brilliant story. Love how it was done. It was simple. It was really simple. Two guys were best friends. No, they're not. Fighting over a championship. What else? It sells itself. You know, you don't need any kind of like. There's nothing elaborate about it. There's nothing kind of like convoluted. You guys are saying like you're watching this kind of like cold, not knowing all the kind of history and stuff. You get it because it's told to you. Very straightforward.
And again, they didn't go straight in with it as well. I think as much as I hate a match where it's very slow to start, that whole presenting him with a Polo Promotions jacket as well, and the real just stressing it out as well. Again, it's the realness of it. I don't know if that sounds stupid or it doesn't come across as well to you. It's like, well, yeah, he's like looking at his jacket and he's agonising over it. It's not a case of he just like throws it back in his face and the match starts. These were best friends. These were two guys who worked in each other's pocket, and now they're split up and trying to make the peace offering. There's emotion to it. There's a lot of emotion to it that necessarily isn't communicated as well. It's one of those. It feels unfair to mention the WWE when we're talking about an independent product, but the WWE is the dominant force in wrestling, and even the fact that it works at ICW just shows that if you have the Fed's support, you go in places. But you just wouldn't. I don't think I've seen that kind of emotion for quite a long time.
Yeah,
I think the fact that it may. I think watching this whole thing, because there are bits with like backstage segments where the mic was a bit funny and other bits where you're just like, but there was personality in this show, and I think this main event has a lot of personality and has a lot of character. And you'll see better main events, you'll see better wrestling shows, you'll see better wrestling promotion, but there's a lot of heart in it. If that makes sense, there's a lot of goodwill. Throughout the course of this show.
Yeah, nobody's phoning that in.
No, yeah, people care. Everyone there cares.
And for what it is, like, I mean, that you're talking about people that are doing this for peanuts in comparison to what the weekly shows would pull you in that big time sort of venue of the Fed. You're seeing, and I don't think that's on the performers per se through in Stanford. I think it's more to do with the production of it, to be honest with you. But you're right, like every single one of them. I mean, Jackie Polo's been one of those guys that's been there since the start. Like, if it wasn't for him and others, like, it wouldn't be what it is. And so of course he cares, sort of thing. Like, he's a producer backstage and he's still technically a performer. I think everything he's done is fantastic. Even the Just Justice thing caught a lot of people off for left field, because it's all of a sudden he just shows up and he's wearing a cowboy hat and has an American accent. It was a bit jarring, but then, like, just with the back and forth with the crowd and how he could have carried that off. Like,
it's a bit jarring. I thought you said it's a bit Jarrett. I was like, yeah, it's a bit Jarrett.
A bit Jarrett, yeah.
Comes out with the JJ jacket. It's very Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah,
but then they totally. They don't do it to it doesn't make you cringe, because they face it head on. They've had him cutting a promo with Jeff Jarrett, and it works. And he's right there with someone who has an American accent, looking him straight in the eye with all the confidence in the world, going, well, and it's just unbelievable. It's just insane stuff. And not only that, to still give that character depth, like, this is a guy with a cowboy hat in Glasgow with a fake American accent and a hoops badge, getting into a blood feud with his ex-brethren, and yet we're still sitting there in silence going, wow, I wonder how this is going to turn out. Like, that is just talent to turn that around, surely. In my opinion. Come on.
It's because I'll be completely honest. I saw him in his fucking cowboy hat and he's like, the Jeff Jarrett jacket at the start of the show, and I was like, nah, this has got to be a bit. This can't be real.
Not gonna land. Every promotion.
He's not part of this show.
Every promotion needs that big Stan Hansen kind of villain. Though, to be fair, like, they need that big monster.
The thing is, Jackie Polo is an incredible villain. He's such a good villain. But see, as a face, he doesn't really do anything different, but it still makes you love him. It's weird. Yeah. There's a very fine line between him as a face and him as a heel. Very, very fine. And he pulls both off brilliantly.
Him and Polo Promotions started off as a heel tag team until they just had to turn them face, because they were just so. And Jackie Polo being Jackie Polo, you could tell, like, it was, they tried to really leave it to the last minute, but they were just so beloved. And I think that's why he does things like that and goes really left field with it, is because he just likes being the bad guy and has to really be creative to do it, to pull it off. And I think there's no better example of creativity than that. And being able to pull that off, I just can't get over that.
I think as a side note as well, I fully believe Polo Promotions exists in the Alan Partridge extended universe. I look at it's just a real stream of consciousness here, but I look at the Polo Promotions jacket and I see Partridge.
Shared universe crossover. I like that idea.
He'd be a fantastic manager, Partridge, wouldn't he?
Okay, right. That's the gimmick.
Another hypothetical.
Hypothetically, come in to wrestling as an Alan Partridge style character.
But Partridge obviously hasn't watched wrestling since World of Sport, so he still thinks there's rounds. He gets up on the apron with the towel and the bottle. He goes to give you it and he gets fucking clocked.
Yeah. But we've already got, like, you know how James Storm has that sorry about your damn luck thing before like his music plays. But we can bring it Ollie, and you know, if we can have it was just banter, and then some. That'd be fantastic. Fantastic.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I honestly like this podcast is uncanny. Is Uncanny Valley. Like we say something and something happens. What's that Alan Partridge show that's on currently, Thomas?
This time.
You know, this time.
The one
this time, he is definitely going to do a bit on World of Sport or something. Sweaty men in tights, you know, like.
I'm trying to think. Has he done it on like the day-to-day or something?
I honestly don't think so.
Because I'll look into it. Because it's one of those. Again, it's like I don't know if it's like a Mandela effect that surely he's done something on like British wrestling.
Can I just give a shout out as well to my boy Coach Tripp here as well?
Alan Page.
I
got his name.
Well, I loved him. Because I know nothing about ICW, so everyone was being introduced to me as when they were talking about Coach. And then they get backstage with him, and there's some guy in like a sport jacket with his bicycle, and it's like, "You're Coach."
The thing about Coach Tripp as well is that his previous gimmick, Adam Shame, was like a real kind of pivotal wrestler, influential pre-boom. He actually came up. You might know a story, Cammy. We was insane podcast. Maybe he came up with the NXT name that the WWE actually had to buy from him.
Fuck.
Because he came up with it.
He sold it for WrestleMania tickets.
Sold it for WrestleMania.
Fucking idiot. He absolute dafty. I also heard in another podcast. Is that
all he got from it?
It's all he got
Something
from
like that.
He's also got this thing. What a character! So, I mean, he is also a guy that people mentor, and one thing he always tells like young people as well is he says, "Local shows always take your wrestling gear. You don't know what's going to happen." Blah blah blah. And then someone went, "So did you take your wrestling gear to WrestleMania?" I went, "Fuck, I did." Like as if Vince is going to turn round and say, "Listen, mate, we're one man short for the Andre Royal Rumble." He's just sitting there with his belly out in his cash.
Triple H, he's got his quad again. How do you want to fight The Undertaker?
All right, lads.
Guys, looks like Mario in the week. Get him out there.
I've got a square go with me, Mark Callis.
You can imagine he just shoots on him though and ends the streak.
Yeah, it's just.
God damn it.
Fucking.
He's got
there's the Undertaker. He's just walking around, rolling his eyes into the back. Some Scottish guys call him a fucking cunt.
It's gonna be like the tune the fat Taysiders in space. Like, away, Mark, don't start your push.
It's weird because normally you consider moments in wrestling where gimmicks have to be put to bed are low. And that's what this is. Gimmicks are being put to bed. And not only just a gimmick, like the Polo Promotions again, seminal tag team. And I don't feel like at any point here that they're missing a beat. Like, I want to know what happens with the cowboy. I want to know what happens with the wild sex man with the pants who's just lost his belt. By the way, what charisma. Melissa, my partner, just puts up with all my random hobbies and whatever, and fake wrestling is certainly one of them. And I was watching this in bed, and I mean, I'm starting to second guess bringing this up now, but like with the moment that DCT walked forward with his thumbs on the belt, just subtly looking around like that, and then they went DCT and they added a crotch thrust for every syllable, just oozing charisma. Like, even she had a wee chuckle at that. But now that I'm thinking about it, she probably fancied them, and I wish I never brought it up now.
I think it's time for you to buy a leopard print singlet.
Yeah,
That's what it is, yeah.
You can never beat DCT, but he is an international sex hero, as you know.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
I think I like as well the way he carried it off as well. I think there was with like that, there's a real risk of it just being unbelievably cringe.
Yeah.
But again, it works. Great. It works.
The international sex hero versus the cowboy, and we're sitting here like,
yeah, again,
you know,
that's fucking wrestling, man.
Not only sitting there
we were just talking about like this. Sorry, mate, carry on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, but we're sitting there emotionally invested in it as well.
Yeah. Like, and they done that over a show. Like, they as per usual independent scene, I'm pretty sure the idea was that DCT just had to leave. He suddenly got really good commitments abroad, kind of thing. So within a month, your champion has to go. How are you going to make him leave? So, like, Jackie Polo only betrayed him, like, technically at a show before to set up this match. And in the process of just 1 hour and a half tight show, they were able to tell this story that had you so emotionally invested and ready. And I mean, at the end of the day, Jackie Polo getting the belt was just to set up him and Lionheart again with the belt. Like, there was an end. It's classic wrestling booking. They're not making a single move without thinking, what are we selling here? And you just can't beat that.
Yeah, again, you made him a transitional champion, but you made him a transitional champion with a plan.
Yeah.
I think one trap you can fall into is case where Jackie Polo is going to be the transitional champion. You give him the belt, and it's like shit.
Yeah, and I mean,
I didn't think we'd get this far.
At the time, it was shocking and maybe a bit poo-pooed, but I think you gave him gravitas with that finish as well.
I didn't expect him to win. Either.
Well,
again,
I think at the same time, you didn't know who Jackie Polo was, and he was just a fanny in a cowboy hat. He's certainly in the sort of lore of ICW a bigger character than DCT. But for him to like, it was a weird finish, you know. Like, there was a lot of fannying about at the start. It was good stuff, like we were talking about. They kind of got their bits in. There was some stuff that was quite kind of, you know, blood feud, and then it just sort of ends, you know. I just realised I paraphrased Always Sunny with intercourse, blah blah blah, intercourse, and then it just sort of ends. Sorry, I'm in one of those moods tonight. Please help.
I mean, sometimes you do need a finish where the rug's pulled from under your feet.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to have your expectations subverted, and someone just pulls the curtains wide open, and the sunlight comes on your face, and that's it. Nighttime's over, mate. It's daytime now. I think, again, because I felt like as the match went on, it was tipped in DCT's favour. It felt like this was where DCT was going on. So again, I don't know the lore of it. I didn't see, well, towards the end of it, I didn't see Jackie Polo as a fanny in a cowboy hat. At the start of the show, I'm happy to admit he was a fanny in a cowboy hat. But yeah, as the match went on, it felt more tipped in DCT's favour. And again, it's one of those, champion 9 times out of 10 retains as well. So when Jackie Polo did go over, it was a bit of a shock because I thought the scales were tipped in DCT's favour. And again, you need a finish like that sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, again with Coffee versus Echo, that finish as well completely subverted expectations. You need those as well.
Yeah. I think especially, I mean, a lot of the audience when you go there, it's a lot of the same people a lot of the time, even over years, sort of thing. And they're smarks, you know, we all are. They're smarks, and they'll let you know when it's starting to get a bit stale. So I don't think you can give those types of fans an inch, or otherwise they'll take a mile. They'll take over the show and start filling in the gaps for you. And I think they do a really good job of ensuring that doesn't happen.
Does ICW have
all the
a
expected
big sunflower hat guy?
Yeah.
Aye. There's
Yeah.
Lewis wears his Grado hat and he's at the front row every time. There's a whole bunch of folk. Yeah, aye. There's Stephen.
Ginger
who's
guy
there.
with the purple.
Yeah. Aye, and there's Stephen Louch. He's always at the front with his crew and stuff like that. Like, yeah, every single time it's the same faces. It's like cheers, man. Everyone knows your name. It's great. It's an unbelievable night out. It'll be our first night out after all this shenanigans, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it'll be a laugh. I think that's that. To be honest, I don't think I could stomach like a WWE event.
No,
I don't think I could have like 6 hours sat in like. Oh, it's the Hydro up here. Back home, for viewers in the Midlands, it would be the NIA, now known as I think it's the Barclaycard Arena, something like that, or the Aon Arena. Changes its name every week. It's the fucking NIA. I don't think I could stomach it, and the fact that you get essentially getting 2 wrestling shows in one, you're getting a development and a breadth of storylines in like a 6-hour period. That's fucking great.
I mean,
unbelievable.
at least if we went to a WWE show, we'd have a picture of seats. Nothing. Oh well, you know, so I tried.
That was good. That was good, Lewis. I'm sorry everyone else didn't appreciate it. That was a good joke.
I liked it.
If you're listening at home, please at Buff Bagwell to tell him that was a good joke.
That was my Jeb Bush police clap moment.
Please.
Yeah. Right. So, in conclusion, we will find something to watch, obviously, as we do. But until next time, adios.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, lads.